the Vegas Golden Knights, as we say, are out in Vegas printing money. Well, it's finally come back to bite them. It's been reported that they are shopping Max Pacioretty and as well as Jonathan Marchessault. So I am someone who, at first glance, I like Marchessault a lot more than Pacioretty. So I would, if I'm Vegas, I give up Pacioretty before I give up Marchessault. But you wrote something today that the Bruins should maybe consider Pacioretty. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think either one of those two guys, if they're available for the right price, I think it'd be a no-brainer for a team like the Bruins to kind of put your forward core over the top with either of those guys. I mean, I think Bruins fans are well aware of kind of what Pacioretty, what his game is, and he probably put together one of his best seasons as a whole last year with Vegas. You know, he's a guy who, if he's with a talented top 6 unit, is pretty much a lock for 30 goals every year. And for him, 3 years left on his contract, $7 million annual cap. A sizable cap hit considering kind of what the current market is, but if you're the Bruins, we have about $3 million to spend, and you're moving off. You have to move other pieces to get them. You know, it's doable. Marchessault is probably a little bit easier, where he's got 4 years left at $5 million. Again, maybe he's not as a prolific a scorer as Pacioretty, but he's still a guy who is pretty much trying to lock for 20 goals, 45, 50 points every single year. So I think you put either one of those guys in your top 6. It's a legitimate weapon for you to have. And I think it all kind of pertains to, in terms of the Bruins, how realistic it is to actually acquire them. I think it all depends on what the asking price is because, again, it's kind of like how Tampa doesn't have a lot of leverage right now with them moving contracts. You know, Vegas isn't as buried under, cap as Tampa is, where, they're already over the cap limit and they need to still sign Trunak and Cirelli. Like, I think Vegas is about $1 million over right now, but I think they pretty much have a lot of guys signed, but you can't go into the year 1 over the cap and 2 not having at least some cushion there. So it makes sense that they're going to probably move either 1 or 2 of those guys probably before the season starts. But it all depends on what their asking price is, because if you're Boston and you're offering maybe cheaper assets like, a DeBrusk or Bjork or, defenseman like Lozon or Clifton or someone like that, or maybe an NHL ready prospect like Frederick or Vakanainen, then, maybe Vegas would be interested in that. And again, it's not like how I imagine it was when Vegas traded Nate Schmidt for, I think, a 3rd round pick, right? Like, I think Vancouver
yes,
acquired Nate Schmidt, like top pairing Nate Schmidt for a 3rd round pick. I don't think it's going to be that crazy, but the writing's on the wall that based on how the market is, that the valuations of some of these top tier players aren't what they were even 6 months ago, right? So if you're the Bruins, if you have a 30 goal scorer or a 20 goal scorer available for probably below their value, it would be, I think, negligent if you're the Bruins to not at least kick the tires on one of those 2 guys, because, maybe DeBrusk is what the asking price is, but let's say it's not, and you get a guy like Pacioretty, all of a sudden then you bring DeBrusk down to the 3rd line. You got a 3rd line of DeBrusk, Coyle, and Smith, and you're rolling right now with 3 legitimate top lines. And so I think it's a viable option for the Bruins of looking at other ways to acquire talent on this team. I don't know if you're going to find much in terms of on defense.
The thing is, how do they free up the money to get Pacioretty?
Yeah, I mean, that would be the biggest case in terms of moving. If that's the case, and it's probably, a guy like DeBrusk, or maybe it's a guy like Kasha, or, a situation like that. Maybe they move a player under, lower contracts.
Obviously they trade Tuukka.
I mean, that one makes the most sense, Evan, but, we wanted to drag this out a little bit. So again, would be a lot of moving pieces, but would the Bruins have at least $3 million in cap is a little bit of a, an area for them to at least take on some of that contract. It's not like they have to move out 3 or 4 contracts just to make it work. So again, easier said than done in this market to move a guy with a $7 million cap hit, but not totally impossible. And again, I think it all depends on what exactly the asking price is.
It's funny. I think about Marchessault and Pacioretty, and I like them both a lot. But I wonder if I'd give up Studnicka for one of them. Now, that's a big asking price.
Yeah.
That's big. That's a really big thing. But at the same time, you think about it, and those are proven offensive players. These are not, your 50-point getters These guys have the potential to really make an impact, to make 70 plus points. And you wonder, with this cup window closing, it kind of goes off the Hannafin argument of with this cup window closing, and maybe not so much with Hannafin, more with these guys, but do you give up a big chunk of the future for a big chunk of the present? Now, I still say no. I still don't want to do that, because I still think you can find a way to give Vegas a good return without giving them Studnicka. I don't know how DeBrusk wouldn't be involved in a deal like that, or Kasha. It's funny. You look at where the money's tied up with the Bruins. Mm-hmm. Obviously, you're not giving up Marchand, Pastrnak, Bergeron. Krejci only has a year left. You're not giving up Rask. They're not. The funny thing is, you're not giving them a lot of money in return, because that's why they're giving up Pacioretty or Marshall in the first place. So it would be. I think it would be a player and prospects. I don't think also the Bruins would probably have to give up a ton of money. No. Just given their cap space, they're not completely tied down. I mean, they would be able to free money. Maybe that's where John Moore goes. Just Matt Pacioretty for John Moore straight up.
That
and Nick Ritchie.
Of course, yeah.